It's Hump Day, middle of the week, Chicago Hockey Radio. Welcome back, Justin Lynch, No Lee Grassman today. Your other host, Tassos Kirkos, right here, bringing it to you live and in color. Producer Raven Gasser, happy Wednesday, everybody. Middle of the week, no Hawks game until Friday against the Bolts, but we have plenty of stuff to get to. Plenty of action, but actually we don't have plenty of action to get to. Plenty of things to get to, though. Welcome back, Justin. How you feeling today, brother?
Doing well, thank you. I appreciate you guys for covering for me Monday, personal day for me. So, but yeah, good to be back. You all did a lot that day. I mean, you did the game live stream, obviously the normal show and the post game. So you all did a pretty good job with that. Lee had some takes on there as well that I'll get into eventually here. But yeah, no, good to be back. Pretty odd that, yeah, we don't play again until Friday. What's this 3-day break all about? I don't really get it. NHL schedule makers even make no sense, but that's them for you.
Yeah, I know. That's the way it goes sometimes. Hopefully looking to get a guest on maybe for Friday's show, so that way maybe we could, I got a couple of people down in Tampa Bay's media market. Maybe we can get somebody to talk Bolts with us before, because the Hawks play the Bolts again next week too. So 2 games against the sliding Tampa Bay Lightning. They lost Monday against the Leafs and then lost yesterday to the Habs. So yeah. Yes, shout out the Toronto Raptors jersey I'm wearing too. Thank you, chat. Really appreciate it. It's Vince Carter on the back too, just in case anybody was wondering. My Blue Jays making a big move for Anthony Santander the other day. Finally landing a free agent. But yeah, the Raps got a big win yesterday, so I had to pull out my Raptors jersey for today. And Justin looking clean, nice haircut, nice quarter zip. I haven't seen that quarter zip yet. It's a good one.
Yeah, no, it was in my closet somewhere. I kind of forgot it was there, to be honest. So I'll have to wear this more often. I like it. It kind of has like a little bit of a coach getup, I feel like. So yeah, I think it'd be nice to have a guest on Friday. I remember when we played the Panthers, we had one of their guys on, Colby Guy. So it makes sense both Florida teams get a guest on. We play them. So yeah, looking forward to that potentially.
Yeah. Sorry for everybody's audio too. Justin's still at home, but yeah.
Is it that bad again?
No, it's not. It's really not that bad.
People are just asking me questions about why it's sounding like that.
Raven, fix it, dude.
Yeah,
it's a temporary setup. When I'm back at school, I'll have the regular headphones, and those will be fine. It's just, yeah, I've been home the last few days for reasons. So, but yeah, no, when I get back to school, it'll be better. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think what we lack in audio from you right now, we're making up for it with a very professional looking background. Looks like you're in a nice little office.
I was just saying, it looks like the most Midwestern office, just like in the house ever.
Yeah.
We're calling the shots over here, right? Making deals. That's right.
All right. Where should we start? We could start, the title of the show, Front Office Editions. The Hawks making a pretty interesting one, something none of us, I don't think, really saw coming, bringing in Chris O'Hearn as VP of Hockey Ops. Do you want to start there, or did you want to? Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with him. It sounds like he's like a good contract guy, right? Good with that stuff, negotiations, things like that. So definitely a good guy, smart guy to have kind of in the office there to help out Kyle. It does seem pretty telling to me, right? Maybe that's a good sign for this offseason, right? We've been talking a lot on the show. We want the Hawks to spend big, bring in some major players here, right? So maybe this could be a sign they plan on doing that potentially. We'll see. But yeah, I think it's probably a good move for Kyle. And yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think pretty interesting move for sure. And it's not really something I saw coming.
Yeah. So O'Hearn was with the Minnesota Wild for a 5-year period. He started out as director of hockey operations and was later promoted to assistant general manager. Okay, so just side note here, like titles in an organization are really weird to me, right? Because when the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup, right? Joe Sakic was the GM, and then he was promoted to president of hockey operations. And then they brought up Chris McFarland, who is the AGM, to be the GM of the team. So I guess in this instance, the director of hockey operations was, or I guess director of hockey operations isn't the same as president of hockey operations. I don't know, but I thought that was weird. And then it's like, oh, he gets promoted to AGM, which is a little goofy to me. But yeah, he was promoted AGM for a 3-year run. December 2023, O'Hearn and the Wild mutually parted ways. Originally joined the organization under former GM Chuck Fletcher and remained with the hockey ops department under current GM Bill Guerin. And like Justin kind of said, O'Hearn was primarily responsible for contract negotiations and collective bargaining agreement matters. So he was also with the Coyotes for 6 years. Was a 3-year assistant general manager with the team under longtime hockey executive Don Maloney, and later under GM John Chayka, which is one of the more fascinating stories. He's also the son of former front office executive Mike O'Hearn, who was the AGM of the original Winnipeg Jets from 94 to 96. So, yeah, I don't know. This guy's definitely got a resume on him. Yeah.
The Hawks are hiring him as the VP of hockey operations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so he should be overseeing a lot of those like kind of contract negotiations stuff and free agency, things like that. So, which is something the Hawks should be in on this offseason for sure if they're smart.
Yeah. You think he was, one of the guys that was like, hey, we got to buy out Parise and Suter. I know this is going to hurt, but,
I would hope so. Yeah, I mean those contracts, they definitely hurt them for a long time. They're finally coming out the books here, but yeah, I mean it seems like the guy's been around, has a good hockey brain, so a good guy to have in the office there for the Hawks for sure. Which is to have more guys like that is definitely something key for this offseason for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good move. Like the more people you have around to help you make decisions, the better it is, right? Like the more discussion you're going to have, the more different thoughts, the more different ideas that are going to be brought to the table, which is good, right? You don't want a bunch of like yes men around you. You don't want a bunch of like people who are just going to agree with you for the sake of like keeping their jobs, right?
I have a question actually. Do we know if Davidson brought this guy out, or if this was like a move from the higher up?
I have no idea on.
Like some would say, this might be a sign that his seat's getting hotter. I don't think it is. I think it's just somebody to bring in to help him along a bit. But I think because sometimes the GM, right, you want to delegate responsibilities, right? If you know somebody's better at this task, let them do it. So if Davidson, that could be a play there. But I would be curious to see like who's kind of calling the shots of this decision here, because it does seem kind of interesting, the timing of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Russo, who's probably like the biggest guy on the Minnesota Wild beat. He tweeted, "This is obviously huge, out of the blue news. O'Hearn was Bill Guerin's right-hand man in AGM since 2019 and his chief contract negotiator." So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly.
We don't know a lot. All we know is that he's coming. That's like all we know. Yeah.
I don't think this is a guy, like this doesn't sound like a move that is like, like this isn't a guy that they're bringing in to like be the next GM of the team, right?
Yeah, no. Some people might speculate that, but it's a helping hand. Yeah. Like an assistant role type deal. Yeah, fair enough.
Trying to think. I'm just like reading different articles about it. Yeah. I mean, like, look, as we enter an important off season, right? Like we've talked about like, and even like some of the contracts that were made, like we've bashed the Brody contract a lot. We've bashed,
that one made no sense.
Like maybe this guy is going to be a bit smarter. And then you look at like the Minnesota Wild and like some of the guys that they have locked up long term, right? I think the Faber deal got done after this guy left the organization. But you look at guys like Joel Eriksson, who's like such a good player for them. Spurgeon, Brodin, like all these guys that have been like locked up with the team long term that like are really getting them. I guess like the first Kirill Kaprizov extension. I know we're talking about like the next one coming, but the contract he's currently under, right? Like that was, remember he like came to the NHL and then they immediately had to get an extension done with the kid, right? And they did, and now he's one of the best players. Yeah, now he's one of their best players and one of the best players in the league. So,
and he's going to get it back pretty soon here, so for sure.
Yeah. This article from the Hockey News saying, and it's good. Like, I agree with the first part of it, basically saying like, yeah, the Hawks are going to enter a competitive window here. You cannot go into this off season and like just piss away money. Like you can't do it. Like you can't like spend money where money doesn't need to be spent. You can't lock yourself into like a terrible contract. Like I have nightmares about the Boston Bruins signing a guy like Louis Eriksson, to that deal. Like that was terrible. Like you cannot do that if you're the Blackhawks. You got these guys like Teravainen and Bertuzzi who are good, like second tier guys, right? And it's not like they're locked up for like 7 years. They were locked up to like 4-year deals, right? Which is like pretty good, but you know, you got to be smart about it again this summer because money's going to get tight, especially with the Bedard extension kicking in
There's a
after
lot.
next
There's a
year.
lot of young players contracts that are going to be like they're coming off the ELCs and things like that. So it's like we want to bring in guys like big fish additions, right? But we want to be smart before we place it, right? We don't want to like logjam kind of our contract situations with these guys that we're going to have to extend. So yeah, got to be smart with it.
Yeah. But this article references guys like Nolan Allen, Frank Nazar, and Colton Dach and other young players are going to have to fit under the cap if they are worth a good amount of money by the time their entry level deals are up. And that I think is a bit of a stretch. You know, I mean, you know, we'll have Nazar plenty of time for Nazar talk, but you know, like to say that guys like Nolan Allen are going to break the bank, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, no, I'd say more guys. Let me Nazar, yeah, like guys like him and Moore and Levshot, guys like that. I mean, they're ways away, right? But yeah, I mean, Nolan Allen though, he's had a good rookie season here, so you never know. I mean, the Colton Dach, hasn't really established himself. But point is, there's going to be a lot of young players on this team whose contracts are going to need to extend here. So it's like you don't want to handicap these guys, right? Not all these prospects are going to be here for the long haul, but it's like we want to make room for the guys that will. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's do some cleanup from the game against Carolina. You know, you mentioned Lee and I did the show on Monday. We live streamed the whole game. That was actually a pretty fun live stream. Weird game, but fun live stream until the very end, obviously. And you know, then we just rolled right into the post game show afterwards. So that was a long Monday, and I don't even think like by the time the post game show started, like I was scrambling to put together coherent thoughts. But you have the floor if you wanted some time to clean up from Monday against the Canes.
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch a ton of the game because it was also a very long day for myself, dealing with things. But I did catch the highlights after I watched what I could, Tuesday just to catch up, see what I missed. And rather one of those games it seems like the Hawks had a good first period where I got to that 2-0 lead and seemed to be controlling the game. And then another bad second period, which has been a theme with this team, kind of blowing multi-goal leads. It's been a theme lately. But then they go in overtime tied, and then obviously disappointing ending there. Sebastian Aho, who seems to be a Hawks killer, sealing the deal there. So a bit disappointed in that aspect. Good to see Kurashev though get some production. Like, when was the last time he did anything? Right? I think that was his first goal since his overtime winner gets the Wild, like in November or whatever. Like he had an assist too. So he seems to be a guy the Hawks have already made up their mind on. Like, we're probably going to be moving on from him, whether that's a deadline or he walks in free agency this offseason. It sounds like his time as a Hawk is probably done. So I guess now it's just a matter of, maybe he can put together some more performances like that the rest of the year, up that value. I mean, that trade value right now isn't very high with the season he's had, but if he could salvage more performances like that, maybe we could still salvage something for him. We'll see. I mean, there is another argument that maybe not to move on, but I think just the season he's had, it's kind of hard to make that argument. He's had such a disastrous year, so he probably needs a change of scenery somewhere. But it was still nice to see him have a good game. It's been a while since we've seen that from him.
Yeah. Can we hear Sorensen on the overtime loss to the Hurricanes? I know we have that clip up and ready to go.
Shots, I believe, is a season high for shots against. What were the Hurricanes doing that was just so effective against you guys?
Yeah, I mean, they do that as a team. They've always done that, right? They funnel a lot of things to net, ready to shoot from their D. They know they're coming there, and they have had that in place for a couple of years here. I think they're first in the league in shots so far. So it was, I think we could have done a better job of holding them at bay a little bit. But yeah, their D are getting shots through quickly, and then they find those pucks.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Hurricanes are a really good shot generating team, but it feels like every team is a good shot generating team against
when
the
they play
Blackhawks.
The Hawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, every game is like 20 to 35 at shots. Yeah, the Hawks gave up 48, which I believe is the most they've given up all season. I think he referenced that in the clip. Mrazek got his work cut out for him. He had a game, right? Mrazek was the whole reason we even went to overtime in the first place. Almost stole it. I think they were last goal was with like 5 minutes left or something like that. So we nearly stole us one. He tends to play well against his former teams, the Canes being one of them. So Mrazek has those types of forces every now and then, right? He can occasionally, when he's on, like when he's seeing the puck, like he can kind of steal games. Not very consistent, but when he's on, he's a strong goaltender. So, tough not to come away with that one for him. But again, it's a good team, the Hurricanes. So just a good point out of that game, I think, is, pretty solid result.
Yeah, it is tough though. Like with the Hurricanes, again, Stanley Cup contender in my mind. You know, they go into Dallas second half of a back-to-back. They beat the Stars 2-1. You know, Kotkaniemi gets both goals, and Kachuk, like they're good. That's a good hockey team over there.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, I think of Shorzy, like, you know, he says something profane, you know, when it's the very first scene of the very first episode, you know, when the Michaels, the coach, is talking, you know, when he was the coach and not the goalie, and he's like, oh, that's a good hockey team over there. And Shorzy's like, oh, why don't you, you know, like, why don't you go give them a nice handshake? If that, you know, it's not what he says, but, you know.
Every team is a good team against the Blackhawks when we're not last anymore. The Sharks passed us very suspiciously. We'll get that in the NHL hour. But yeah, pretty much anybody's going to look good against us, look even better. But the Canes are like a legit team. Like they've been knocking on the door for a few years here. Maybe this is finally the year they break through. Come playoff time, they're always kind of like one step too far there. So it's either conference finals or second round every year. But they're a deep team. Like you look at their stats, like there's no passengers there, right? Like everybody's contributing. They don't really have any weaknesses there. So I generate a lot of chances they outshot you, outpossess you, outplay you, and that was definitely the case on Monday for sure.
I will say there was one passenger in that one, and that was Andrei Svechnikov, dude. Like, I mean, you know, this isn't like Canes hockey radio, or Carolina hockey radio, but man, like that dude is a passenger on that team. But other than that, you're right, there are no passengers. But I just had to take a shot at Svechnikov.
I feel like he's kind of fallen off a little. Like he should be. He has all the talent in the world. He should be producing more than he is. But I feel like the results just aren't really consistent for him in the last few years.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been, and frankly, he's been passed by some other guys that are. You know, like the two Russian guys in Columbus right now, Marchenko and Voronkov. Like, I think those guys are both from the same draft as Svechnikov, and they were both picked way later than him. And, you know, dude, very funny side note, but I brought this up on my show. It has nothing to do with the Blackhawks at all. But it is, you know, Alex Laferriere on the Kings, right?
Yeah.
Before yesterday's Rangers game, Alex Laferriere had the same number of points as Alexis Lafreniere.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's fun, and I see a lot of jokes about being Lafreniere. I wish it turns out maybe he's the upgrade there. That's pretty wild. Yeah, Lafreniere, he had a hot start to the season. Ever since his contract extension, I feel like he's kind of regressed a little bit, and that's my guy there. So he's not making me look real good over there, but hopefully it gets it going. But I mean, that's kind of the Rangers season for you.
Yeah, no, I just that one makes me chuckle a little bit because I am not a Lafreniere truther. I think a lot of other guys should have gone first overall that year instead of him. But
yeah, you could argue probably Raymond and Stutz could have gone ahead of him, maybe a few others for sure.
Yeah. All right. Any other cleanup from the game? You know, I just, you know, we could talk Nazar right now. You know, Lee and I, that was
looked like another pretty good game, right?
He was really good.
That first line had a lot of looks. I mean, and I think he had an assist, I'm pretty sure, Nazar as well. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely been starting. The production's starting to come. He's starting to get rewarded for his good play, which has been pretty consistent lately. So good to see for him. I think just him with Bertuzzi, Bedard, but that's your ideal first line. We've seen that the last few games, and let's just keep rolling with it here. I will say from the highlights I saw, maybe it was a Connor's best game. Maybe he had a couple turnovers there, but it's going to happen occasionally. But yeah, I thought Nazar had from what I saw, a pretty good game for him. And as a team, he had his first career goal against last year as well at the UC. So yeah, good to see for sure. I think his confidence seems to be, playing with a lot of confidence lately, and it's good to see for sure.
So I said this on the post game. I'll say it again though. Sort of an expansion on this thought was, but it wasn't Bedard's best game really, and he did have two costly turnovers that directly led to Hurricanes goals. But my counterpoint to that was like, look, he's the only guy out there taking creative offensive chances, right? Yeah. And when you do that and you don't have the horses on you with the rest of the players you're playing with in order to maybe make up. Yeah, in order to make up for maybe the mistakes a little bit, like, if you're the only guy taking chances, sometimes it's going to not go your way. Sometimes it's going to end up being, a giveaway like that. And, when you're playing a team like the Hurricanes, like that's a team that'll make you pay for that.
Oh, yeah.
But you
can't.
You can't ask Bedard to not take those chances.
I'm glad he is, right? Like, I don't want him, that's something under Richardson. He wouldn't be trying a lot of those moves, right? Because he'd be afraid about making mistakes and getting, kind of getting handicapped for him. Under Sorensen, he's encouraged him to use his offensive creativity. A lot of times it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But I think you have to make those mistakes, right? I think it's a good thing for him. He'll learn from them, right? And become a better player as a result. So I think it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Yeah, we mentioned the Hawks don't play again until Friday against the Lightning. Yeah, I mean, we can obviously break that game down a little bit more on Friday's show too. But
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. Maybe like, okay, let me ask you this. We'll do a little Lightning talk. Are the Lightning still Cup contenders?
I don't know about Cup. I think they're definitely a playoff team, but I mean, Cup contenders. It's weird because it just feels like they're too top heavy, right? The lack of a bit of a depth they've had in recent years. Those Cup run teams, for example, where I think they rely a lot on the top guys like Kucherov, for example. He's had an insane season. As usual. Guys like Point and Hagel, which just feel work out well there, but and Hedman. But I don't know. I'm not really convinced that they have everything in terms of the tools needed to win the cup this year, and they're stronger teams. So I don't know if I call them cup contenders. I know they've fallen off a little bit lately, but they're still up there. But playoffs for sure. I don't know about cup.
Yeah, I just, and here's the thing with like the 2-3 matchup I talked about on my show today. It's like, if the Capitals right now in the Metro, right? If the Capitals, which it kind of looks like they're gonna do here, like I don't think anybody's gonna catch them for top spot in the Metro right now. Like they just keep winning when it doesn't look good for them. Like they're a good hockey team now. Like this isn't the same as last season. Like that's a good hockey team right now. And so it seems like, and I don't think anybody's gonna break into the top 3 of the Metro that currently isn't there, which means as of right now, we're poised for a Devils Hurricanes first round matchup, which means that frankly, like at the end of the first round, and this happens every year now with the way that this playoff format exists, one good team is going to be like good teams are going to be bounced after the first round. Like like one of the Devils or the Hurricanes is going to be out in the first round if the playoffs were to start today. You got the Battle of Florida too also set up. The Central really for me is like where that exists the most. Like it's so important to win the Central Division because like if you're the Winnipeg Jets, like they're leading the Central right now, but they've been pretty brutal over the last 10 games. They've been pretty brutal over the last like even 15 games. Like they got off to that blazing hot start, winning the Central and maybe even the West, right? And then playing a team like Calgary in the first round. Hopefully it's Calgary in the first round of the playoffs.
For Lee's sake.
Yeah, for Lee's sake, or for our sake, I hope it's Calgary. For Lee's sake, he hopes it's the Canucks. But you know what I mean? Like if the Jets fall to second or even third in that division, like I don't think they're going to beat. Maybe they beat Colorado, but I don't even think so because I think Colorado's horses, once the playoffs start, we will push them past a Jets team that just always folds in the playoffs. Same thing if they play Dallas, even same thing if they play Minnesota, right? So long-winded way of saying, like, I think Tampa Bay, this was, a long drink of water to get to this point here. But, to me, the Lightning are really good. Like, I've been watching them this year, and I thought the Stamkos thing was going to really negatively impact
It
them.
didn't affect them as much as I thought. Not just the performance on there. I thought it affected them more in a room to losing a presence like that. But it seems like they're just kind of picking up the pieces there.
Yeah, and then like I don't know, like they're gonna get a couple of like the depth right now is like you look at the team that won back-to-back cups and went to 3 straight finals, and you look at the bottom 6 of that lineup versus the bottom 6 of this lineup, and you're like, okay, well clearly these are 2 different hockey teams right now. But dude, if they get like 2 guys to help out beef up the bottom 6 a little bit, that's a scary team. Like to me, that's a scary team.
Are you saying they should be in on guys like Hall and Donato about that depth maybe at the deadline? Yeah. Because you say that you're lacking a few pieces there, and I agree. I think you add a couple more weapons there, the bottom 6, and also it's looking a lot better. Guys that complement, like players like Nick Paul and Sorelli, et cetera, right? You got a spot there for sure.
I don't hate that. I really don't. Maybe this is a good like showcase game for those kind of guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
For sure. Yeah, I think so, right? Because here's the thing, like there's not a lot of teams. Hawks are probably in a good position here because there's not a lot of teams that are already out of it, if that makes sense, right? Like they're one of the few teams that's an obvious seller, but a lot of these teams are still in the race, especially in the East. It's such a tight race there. It's really only like the Sabres that are probably out of it, right? So like and that benefits a team like the Hawks, right? Because there's only so many teams you can look at, for potential suitors in terms of sellers. So should be in a good position to be able to offload guys and get something back for sure. Yeah.
All right. We'll tee up that game more on Friday. Like I said, no game between Monday and Friday, although then they take the ice again Sunday too. So we'll also tee up Sunday's game a little bit on Friday's show too. But yeah, I thought we'd do a little lightning talk. I wanted to get your take, see if they're actually like cup contenders in your eye, and they're not to you.
No, I mean, I could be wrong. They're not really. It's just I look at the last few years, right, and they've been kind of early exits. I just don't think this year's team is any different for me. I mean, I don't know if they're any like better than last year, per se. I think it's more just the same. So yeah, I don't really think my views have shifted there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So let's get into maybe this Seth Jones, Greg Wyshynski talk.
Yeah, he's been connected to the Dallas Stars, right?
He was being connected to the Dallas Stars. So Greg Wyshynski, I guess he had an article of bold predictions or something like that. I can't really, I don't really know what it is here. But basically said Greg Wyshynski predicted that the Blackhawks defenseman would be traded before the end of the season.
Really?
I guess he also listed the Edmonton Oilers as a potential fit.
Yeah, Bowman, take him off our hands. That would be poetic.
Yeah, the thing is like if you do a deal with the Oilers, you do a deal with the Dallas Stars, it's a money in, money out situation, right? I mean, I guess maybe you could like take some guys on expiring deals, but I even saw the chat saying that like, there was talk of, Nurse for Jones 1-for-1.
No, I'm not interested in that.
No, me neither. To be honest.
I mean, Nurse is even worse than Seth. I mean, Nurse makes Seth look like a Norris winner. So yeah, I don't know what that really does for us. We're just swapping overrated, overpaid defensemen. So it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me either. I will say Nurse has had a much better season this year than he had last year, but you're still, I think the point of trading Seth Jones is to get the contract room off the book, to get the cap space off the books, right? Get that 9.5 off. I'm not interested in retaining salary if I'm Kyle Davidson. I'm not
especially if you're retaining like half. Like that makes no sense.
Yeah, and what you're going to retain half to a conference opponent? You know what I mean? Like if you're trading him to Dallas, right? Like you're gonna have to retain money. Dallas can't.
Yeah, and a good chunk too.
Who's Dallas gonna like? I can look up how much cap space the Stars have. I don't know that it's more than $1 million or two. Like that's a cap team for the most part. I watch. I'm going to look it up and be totally wrong. And they've got 1.95 in cap space currently. Like that's not even close to what you need to do. Like unless you're trading Tyler Seguin, are you interested in that? Like,
and somebody chat's asking what teams that cap room for Jones. That's the problem, right? Not a lot. And that's the thing. The Hawks probably would have to retain a good chunk of salary, and then I just don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense. As much as we'd love to get him off the books, I've talked about this before. As much as I'd like to move out for Steph, I just don't know if right now. I know some insiders have been saying differently. He's on the trading block, but I don't know if right now is the exact time for it. Right? I think having on the team now allows guys like Levshinov and Renzel, et cetera, to develop, the minors, et cetera, college. So I think maybe next year is the time to move on from Seth. But I think for now, it's like I don't see this as an issue. I know his play's been a little worse. He's come back from injury. It's started to right the ship lately. He's been better last week or so. But I think this is a future issue. I don't know if it's right now. I think we will eventually move on for Seth Jones, but I don't know if it's going to be happening this year. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I've been banging the drum of, a return to Columbus for Seth. That's a team with a ton of cap space right now. The only other teams right now that could take on 9.5 without needing to, need money retained or move money out. The only other two teams are Calgary and the Anaheim Ducks. So, and I think the Anaheim Ducks have moves of their own to make. And they have a lot of they have a lot of defensemen, they have Minchikov and Lacombe and Hellison and Zellweger and all these
I don't
kids,
think they'd be
right?
in on Seth Jones. Doesn't make a lot of sense for them. Yeah.
No. Calgary I could see making some sense, right?
Yeah.
I could see that. You know, they got Rasmus Anderson, they got Seth Jones. We wish they have Mackenzie Weegar on the team, but like you look at like the bottom third of their defense core, it's a lot of like Daniel Miramanov and like Braden Pahal and like those kinds of guys, and you know what I'm saying? Like that's a team that could use Seth Jones. So are the Blue Jackets, right? And you know, you put Seth Jones next to the player who's having a Norris Trophy winning type season. You put him next to the guy that Seth Jones has played the best hockey of his career next to in
Yeah,
Zach
Zach
Werenski.
Gretzky, like they were a good deep pair back at Columbus, right? So I think he's played his best hockey with them, so at the World Championships as well. So I think that benefited him. The Blue Jackets think that actually would make probably some sense, but like, would they trade back for that? Seems like something that like a Stan Bold would do, reacquiring former players. I don't know if it's something that the Blue Jackets would do, but you know.
Maybe. Look, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out, especially because like they're better than expected. It's not like this team is like languishing at the bottom of the playoffs. Like adding Seth Jones to your D core, if you're the Blue Jackets, that does inject some life into the group and into the locker room and says, hey, like, you know, even if the Hawks like, you know, I don't think if you moved him to that's the other part about moving him to Columbus is that you don't have to add any sweeteners. You know, you don't have to like take on bad money or retain any salary.
Yeah.
You know, you could just maybe, even if you want to just like not even take a draft pick for it, but like a B level prospect, you know, like a Luca Del Bel Belluz or somebody like that. Like they've got like a ton of those little, you know, depth prospects that maybe they hit in the NHL, maybe they don't, but I don't think that's the problem, you know, for the Hawks. Like I don't think they really care, right?
That's the thing. Like, if you're not retaining salary moving on for Seth Jones, like, I really don't really care what we get back in return. Like, just moving him off the books, getting him off the books, like, that would be enough in itself, right? So the return, really, like, I wouldn't really be too phased by that. But if we were retaining salary, I would expect something more in return, right? In terms of a better prospect or a draft pick, something like that. Yeah.
Somebody asking me what the terms of the Seguin contract are. So Tyler Seguin is locked up through the 26-27 season at 9.850. So a little bit higher of a cap hit than Jones, but it comes off 3 seasons earlier. Yeah, because he's only got 2 more after this one. So, and he is hurt right now too. You know, but that would be the only one. I don't see them moving off of like Jamie Benn. Like if you could get, you know, Jones for Jamie Benn, like that would do it, you know, and then Benn's a UFA at the end of this season. And maybe you look to re-sign him as like a, you know, like you've done with like this Nick Foligno contract and like some of these guys, right? That, you know, they're around for leadership. They're around to like help out the young guns, really learn what it means to be a pro. You know, I think that would be way too much of a shakeup if you're the Dallas Stars to like move on from your longtime captain for maybe.
I will say I do think the cap going up helps the Hawks, right? It's going to help them move off this contract. It makes the contract hurt them not as bad too in the short run. While we do have to deal with it, so I think that could be something that plays a factor, especially if it goes up $9 million as expected. Then that could be huge for helping them, you know, move it off.
All right, Seth Jones for Miro Heiskanen, get it done.
Yeah, for sure. That totally makes sense for them, right?
Yeah, no, it does not. That would be a really fun one. I don't even want to like. I was gonna say like, what do you think it would take to get Miro Heiskanen in a Jones trade? But
yeah, forget about it.
Connor Bedard. It would probably take Bedard, and you know.
Yeah, not happening. Yeah, no.
All right, so Lee is not here for you to essentially fight him over that clip we put out yesterday. I mean, we definitely put out that clip to create a bit of a stir. I mean, he did come in here saying, I was not expecting him to come on Monday's show and say that about Matthew Schaefer. I thought I was the only guy on the Schaefer train, but apparently somebody else has joined me aboard the Matthew Schaefer Truther committee, but you know, I know you had some words for him, and now he's not here to defend himself. So, you know, I will let you take it away.
Yeah, we'll debate on Friday, but I just think it's very interesting, right? I mean, we've been doing this show for how many months? 3-4 months. I've lost track. And you can rewind the tape. You could go back to any show, anytime we've discussed this topic, and Lee will be the first one to tell you, oh my God, if the Hawks draft Matthew Schaefer in May, or in June, I guess I should say, the draft lottery's in May, but if the Hawks draft Matthew Schaefer, a defenseman, again, I'm going to lose it. And now all of a sudden, in the space of a week, he's completely flipped the script, and I guess he's all in on that train, right? I can even go back to even last week. He was saying it. We were in agreement there, right? And now I guess he's watched 10 minutes of tape on Schaefer on YouTube, and he's certainly changed his mind. I guess he's Bobby over there now, right? So I think it's okay to change your opinions, right? I can respect that, right? I will say this. I've acknowledged this. Schaefer is an outstanding defenseman. Had we taken Ivan Demidov last year, I'd be all aboard the Schaefer train with both of you, but we didn't. So
Yeah.
I just think with KD, you've established the precedent now. Post Bedard, okay, we're drafting players off of fit now. Off of, we're not really going off of best player available necessarily, going off of, fit in terms of positions, what would make the most sense for the Hawks. And you look at this Hawks decor, you have Levshinov, you have Korchinski, you have Renzel, you have Vlasic, Seth for now. I mean, we'll see how long, right? Nolan Allen, Wyatt Kaiser, Ethan Del Mascio. Go down the list. Are all these guys is that going to be your whole decor? No, we'll probably move on from some guys. Not all of them are going to make it. There might be some new ones, down the road, but I just don't look at this. I don't look at this team right now and the future makeup of this roster, and I don't think we need another defenseman here. I know he's good. I get it. I'm not even convinced. Here's the thing, though. I'm not even convinced he's the best. I know all the scouts are saying, oh, he's the best player in the draft, etc. I'm not sure if I'm sold on that. I'm not sure he's better than James Higgins. And even Lee was confused about that. Last week, he's like, he just got injured, right? He hasn't been playing the last month. James Higgins just had a dominant performance in the World Juniors. Why has everybody suddenly changed their mind and saying Matthew Schaefer is 1 and Higgins is 2? He was confused by that. He was saying, oh, it's Canadian media bias. And now all of a sudden, he's like, thinks he's 1 and Higgins is 2. I don't understand where that came from. I almost feel like he just wanted to put that out there to rile me up. And if so, he accomplished his goal there, if that was the case. Well, again, we'll talk. I will talk to him about it Friday. We'll have a debate. Since he's not here, I guess we can debate it because I know you've been on to your credit though, you've been in the Schaefer trade, I think, this entire show. So I think there you go. But again, great defenseman, right? But I just don't think that's what we need right now. We need another forward. We need to complement Bedard with a piece there. I think Higgins, if you have the first or second pick, I think he's the guy. If not, I'm all for Misa Martone as well, right? So yeah, that's I guess my main sentiment there.
Okay, so a couple of things here. I will actually be honest. My preseason and like early season, I did have James Higgins number 1. I that was my number 1 guy. And then as the season got rolling, Higgins had kind of a quiet start at Boston College, and Schaefer was lighting up the OHL. And then really the moment that I started hearing rumblings that Schaefer was the number 1 guy, I started to do more digging, actually watching the tape, and not just like 10-minute highlight clips. Sorry, Lee. But no, so I've been on it a bit longer. But I won't say like that wasn't my original. Like Higgins was my original number 1 guy. My question to you, and I'm reading the chat a little bit here too. Trevor out here with some wild. First of all, Trevor, you threw us under the bus in the comment section of that post. Basically, when I think your buddy Korchinski's Kingdom, you basically said like, "Oh, don't move Korchinski." But we say, and then Trevor's like, "Oh, well, that's the only guy they talk about trading." The only reason that's the guy we talk about trading is because that's the guy with the highest value right now. You know what I mean? Like, if you were to take Schaefer, then keeping Korchinski is kind of redundant, right? And that guy, like Korchinski, will fetch you more in a return than Ethan Del Mastro will. You know what I mean? Like, or, like you get what I'm saying here, which is, so I feel like that's why, like, I'm not anti Kevin Korchinski. I think he's going to be a solid top 4 defenseman. I'm just not super convinced that he's a top 2 guy. You know what I mean? Like, he may be more 4 than 2 in my mind. So, that's where I'm like not entirely sold on it, the idea, and then we got some crazy stuff. Is it possible to buy out the remaining 4 years of the Jones contract and draft Schaefer? If we're anti, retaining money on Jones, I would love to know what the buyout would look like, but my God, you cannot do that.
My goodness gracious. That would be an absolute disaster. Yeah, no. I know a lot of us
like
to
him
talk
on the
about
team.
Seth Jones, but yeah, no, that doesn't do anything for me. Here's the thing, though. It's like I think Lee was already saying this. Is like he was already putting out this like he seems to have lost his faith already in Artie Levshinov. And I know Levshinov hasn't had an insane season in the AHL, right? Probably not the season we'd expect. He's 19 years old. He's making a jump from college to Rockford. Like the results aren't going to show right away. So it's like he's almost like on the Schaefer train because he doesn't expect him to be a number 1 guy. If you're already making that judgment off of a few months, I think that's a mistake, right? I mean, if you don't have that if you don't have that confidence in Levshunov, then why did you draft him over Demidov to begin with, right? I'm on the train where it's like, okay, you made that decision last draft that Levshunov is your guy, right? That's your number one D. So it's like, well, let's ride that out, right? Let's develop this guy. Let's put everything we got into him. And now it's like, now he wants to draft Schaefer because he doesn't think he can be the guy. I don't know. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, right? I mean, I just look at this draft now. It's like you can go back to any show, any timestamp. All we ever complain about is we need to help Bedard. We need to get him more pieces. And we keep denying him that help. And it makes no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, I don't understand. It truly baffles my mind. Unless, I know he's been over the two top five pick thing. If you could get another pick in the top five, take Higgins with your first pick, and then get, I don't know, one of Higgins, Misa Martone, probably wouldn't be Higgins, it'd probably be Misa Martone with the other pick, I'd be on that train. Kyle did try to do that last draft, right? He tried to get both Levshunov and Demidov. It didn't work out. If you can make that happen, then I think that makes sense for me, right? I'd be all over that. Or right, you could draft Schaefer and then trade one of those D pieces and get forward in return like a star guy. I guess I could see the logic there. But overall, I don't know. It's the timing of his change of mind there.
Oh yeah, no, it is
it's
definitely.
Like he basically admitted. He said he watched the tape, so you're admitting you hadn't watched any Matthew Schaefer tape until this past week, right? So I don't know how he knew that he wasn't the guy to pick before. I've watched his tape. He impresses me. He's great, but I don't see what's so great about him where I'd pass on a forward yet again. I think one of Higgins, Misa Martone for Bedsy would be absolutely fantastic. And I think that's our need, right? We went off of need last year. Let's go off of it again. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to go, best player available now when we didn't last year, right? You have to be consistent with it. Which it's funny because Davidson did say he was going to go off a best player available in last year's draft, but he didn't. If you honestly think that Levshunov is going to be better than Demidov, I think you're on something. So I think Katie just needs to be a little more honest there in what he's going for, because that didn't make a lot of sense either. But anyway.
So I have to admit a few things. I have some thoughts from chat and a few different thoughts. So to be very frank with you, my guy, I thought Levshunov was the number 2 pick off the board. Like I had said that to Lee before we started, before Chicago Hockey Radio was thought. I thought I was on the draft Artem Levshunov train. And I'm not off of him at all. I said this on Monday's show. He's from Belarus, right? He's only been playing. This is his 3rd season in North America. Michigan State last year, USHL the year before.
He's a raw prospect.
Really raw. Like, we're talking about, like, I compared it on Monday to some of the Austrian guys on the, like, Marco Kasper in Detroit and Marco Rossi in Minnesota, basically saying that, like, those hockey countries aren't as developed as like Sweden, Finland, Canada, USA, right? Russia. So like, Artem Levshunov in 3 years is not going to be what Artem Levshunov is today. Like he's going to be a beast. Now, also something from chat. I don't think Connor Murphy's long for this roster. Like he's
no, he's gone next year. He's
gone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want him around. Like that's not.
No. I'm kind of done with. I'm ready to move on from him.
But hear this out. Thomas in chat put this. A potential top 6 in the future for the Blackhawks. Schaefer, Levshunov, Korchinski, Jones, Del Mastro, Rinzel could be insane.
So Rinzel could be a top pair guy. Vlasic, I'd argue, already is a top pair guy who we forgot about, right?
Oh, yeah, he's not even in that list.
Jones. So it's like you have like 5 guys there who could potentially be top pair. We don't need Matthew Schaefer. Like, I don't understand how you can look at this and think, oh, that's our main need. I see somebody's like, oh, Moore could be that guy. Moore is probably a second-line guy. Nazar, right now they have Nazar on the wing of Betsy, but they probably want to be the 2C, right? So you look at this prospect pool, who's the winger of Bedard? I don't really, maybe Kanserov? I don't know. I see a lot of middle 6, like, second, third-line guys. I don't see a lot of, surefire first-line talent. The pair of Betsy. Yeah, you could sign Rantanen and Marner. You could hope for that. That's a big if, right? You could take Schaefer and hope you can, trade Korchinski, somebody get that. Again, it's if statements, right? I just think you have somebody available to take, who you could pair in the first line Betsy, a winger like Misa, who, by the way, 75 points in 37 games, that ridiculous pace. James Higgins, right? He could be a Celebrini. I don't think he's Celebrini, but he could be a Fantilli type, really strong, two complementary piece to Betsy, right? The Robin to his Batman. And you have Martone, who's a winger with size. We don't have a lot of that on our forward core. We don't really have a Hoss there, right? You have all these options available to help out the offense, and you want to I don't understand why you want to pass that up. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I got to look at the defense. I think that core is set. I mean, if everything pans out, which again, that's a big if as well. So, I guess from that aspect, I could understand taking Schaefer because if you really think that he is Bakar, that he is Quinn Hughes, if you're confident in that, then yeah, take him, I guess. But that's again, I just look at in terms of fit. I don't think that we need him. I think the Sharks see him a lot more than we do. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm looking up, and we could talk about Rantanen actually a little bit too, because there's some rumors that the contract negotiations in Colorado are a bit more of a struggle than the Avalanche initially thought. But I'm actually reading an article right now. I just typed in Seth Jones into Google and was looking to see what popped up. I don't know if you caught the clip from Spit and Chicklets where Ryan Whitney was talking about moving him on to Dallas a little bit. That clip came out this morning from yesterday's pod. And then I clicked on an article, and it was a Barstool article about it. And sure enough, the writer of it was Chief.
Oh no.
So I'm reading, I thought he was not going to be intelligent enough to, make notion of the fact that, having $4.75 million in dead cap space wouldn't be ideal, but he does actually. But at this point, I don't think it matters, quote, is what he says about it. They're not close to being competitive, and the only major cap hit coming their way is Bedard's extension over the summer. I have a hard time imagining that 4.75 preventing them from doing any other major business in terms of internal extensions or external acquisitions. So payroll is still low. None of the other draft picks are going to command much more than that, what they gave to Vlasic. That is a good point, what is a Nazar extension going to look like? Unless he scores 70 points next year, is he really going to command more than $5 million? Probably not, unless you bridge.
Yeah, and then there's Korchinski coming up too. There's going to be a few ELCs that are coming up. Bedard's extension, as you mentioned, right? Probably next year, could be this year, probably next year. Right, the Hawks got to think about that with their additions. But I think if somebody like Rantanen's on the table, like you throw the bag at them, especially if the Avalanche having issues in negotiations there, you could take him off their hands, add him next to Bedard, holy jumping, that would be huge. I think that would, if you could get a big fish like that, then maybe drafting Schaefer wouldn't be such a bad thing, right? But I do think the Hawks need, Bedard can't go in the next season without somebody like that playing from, whether that's in the draft or in free agency. I think that's the biggest thing for the Hawks to look at this offseason, maybe outside the coach, for sure. That's another big thing.
Oh, Lee's in the chat. Lee, back up the podcast about 15 minutes. And
oh, yeah, he's too late. We're not going to, we already talked a lot about it. Unfortunately, he's not in the chat to defend himself now.
I will say, I do want to ask, so if you have the first overall pick in the draft and you get the final call, and let's say things continue as going, where the Schaefer train keeps going and he has he returns from injury, looks really good, and you have the first overall pick. You're not picking him?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No.
All right.
Here's the thing. Everybody keeps talking about this Schaefer train. He hasn't played in a month. He got injured the second game of the World Juniors. So I don't understand this Canadian media propaganda, man. Oh, look at what he's doing. He's not doing anything right now. Higgins is lighting it up at Boston College. Just won gold medal at the U.S. Probably their best player in the World Juniors. It doesn't make any sense to me. I could care less what all the scouts have to say. Okay, maybe that makes me sound ignorant because I'm sure they know better. They're experts, yada, yada. I've watched both their tapes, and I don't know, maybe Schaefer, you could argue he's better than Higgins. I have my doubts, but I just look at fit. What this team needs. We need Higgins more than we need Schaefer. That's pretty obvious. And I think if you say otherwise, I don't know what you're on.
Yeah.
I mean, we established that precedent with Levshunov last year, taking him over Ivan. Had we taken Demidov, I'd be over the trade. We didn't, right? So I think you have to be consistent if you're Kyle Davidson.
Yeah, I agree. Lee will have to get back in here on Friday to defend himself a little bit.
We'll have plenty to say on Friday. We could probably spend the whole show debating this topic. I'm sure that'd be fun.
Yeah, and we got to get, we'll get some, we'll get some prospect gurus in here at some point. Like I said, we'll get a guy like Stephen Ellis and stuff, maybe some other guys we can find later on. I want to see, more of the college season develop. Let's see like the end of the regular seasons, and let's see what like the Ontario Hockey League playoffs look like, because it seems like a lot of the guys are from the OHL. Roger McQueen still, I guess, needs to come back from his injury, and that's sort of the Western League guy that everybody's sort of paying attention to. But yeah, I just
We also
there's plenty of time.
Somebody in chat, we also don't need another small forward. Well, Porter Motone is a small forward. Roger McQueen isn't a small forward. So there's guys at the top of this draft on offense you could pick who, satisfy that need in terms of, a player with size in the top 6 there to put on Betsy's wing. So you can have all facets covered there. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. You would draft Martone first overall?
No, I would. I'm just saying if we didn't have a first or second pick, like if it's not James Higgins, so I think he's probably referencing Higgins as a smaller forward. But if it's not James Higgins who take, if you have a 3rd or 4th pick, you could take Martone or McQueen, somebody like that, and that's a forward with size. So I wouldn't take them as I would say this. Higgins is probably the only guy I'd take over Schaefer. I probably would take, if we don't have the 1st or 2nd pick, assuming that Schaefer goes 1, Higgins goes 2, or we take Higgins at 1, Schaefer goes 2. If we have the 3rd or 4th, yeah, well, like Schaefer probably wouldn't be available. I wouldn't take him over, Misa, Marteau, McQueen. Like Higgins is the only guy I would take over Schaefer in terms of forwards in this draft. To give Lee credit there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that as far as forwards go. Higgins is just too talented. I would not pick, McQueen or Martone. Just McQueen we haven't seen enough of, and Martone is
yeah, he's been injured all year.
Martone's a bit inconsistent for me, in what I've watched. But yeah, all right. Yeah, but I would take Higgins. I totally would. I just, a big thing for me is if you're able, like, it all is going to build on itself, which is why it's cool that we get to do a podcast 3 times a week until free agency starts, because you've got like what you trade your assets for now at the deadline is going to help as far as like what you're able to do as far as moving up in the draft. Like, can you get like I'm still not off the train of like finding a team that will give you a 1st round pick for Hall and Donato packaged together. I know that may sound crazy, but
1st rounder?
If you're putting both of them together and you're eating salary, like the Hawks don't have all 3 contract retained slots used, right? Do they have any of them used?
No, I think I'm sure they have some. I know they have some open for sure.
I'll look it up right now, but I don't think they have any of them. But even still, both of those, or Hall has one. No, Hall is expiring at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
So like
the both on Donato. Yeah.
So even if you retain salary on Hall and just to make it happen, right? Like I don't know, like maybe a team like I don't know.
We have 2.
Tampa. Oh, 2 contract slots are used?
Yeah, I saw it in the chat. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a team like Tampa Bay would give you a 1st round pick. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I could see like packaging maybe for a 2nd. I mean, I think that'd be nice if you could do that, but I don't know. Maybe I might be wishing upon a star there. I think both of them alone probably get a 3rd, maybe a 2nd. Yeah.
But then it's like, then even still, if it's a 2nd, right? Like let's say you package Hall and Donato together, you get a 2nd. You pass along Patrick Maroon and Philip Kurashev, you package them together, even if you get a 5th round pick for those 2 guys combined, right? Then it's like the Hawks already have 3 2nd round picks this year. You'd be adding a 4th 2nd rounder this year. I told Lee this. I would trade all 4 2nd rounders, or all 3 2nd rounders they currently have
for another 1st.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, might as well. If we have all this draft capital, we don't need to use it all. Like our prospect pool is already loaded. I think it's time for more quality versus quantity at this point. We have a large quantity, but we need to add a few more elite pieces there. So like let's trade up, right? Package these prospects, maybe some picks in there, and let's get another top pick there. I think that would be ideal for Hawks in this draft. And KD's never been afraid to be aggressive in the draft as well. I'm sure he'll be making moves. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, and Kevin Patterson in chat also saying that Misa is better than Higgins. I don't know, maybe.
A lot of Canadian. I mean, I don't think he's Canadian, but like, I don't know, man.
Misa is Canadian. Oh, you mean the person in chat?
I mean, yeah. Misa's great. I think I'd take him at 3. Better than Higgins. I don't know about that one. But I think he's very strong though. I'd maybe consider taking him. If there's another forward I'd take over Schaefer, I'd probably consider Misa. Higgins is really the only surefire one there. Maybe Martone with I think he's very intriguing with his size, but I think he's a 6'1", so he's not really a small forward actually. But I mean, and like I said, I think he has 75 points, 37 games or something this year. So his production's been insane. But that's juniors versus NCAA. Didn't see him in the juniors for Canada, which is perplexing. I think he should have been in that team. Martone was. I don't know why. I don't know why Misa was, and he could score. So I think he's a winger too. So you could put that with Bedard. That would make a lot of sense. So. And Higgins is center, but you can always move to the wing. So actually, yeah, he has an argument there. I'd take Higgins over him, but I think Misa, I consider him. Yeah.
The other thing too is Misa was an exceptional status guy, right? Like people, I think, forget that about him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Not a lot of players have had that granted to them, right? He had a bit of an off year last year, but like if you look at it, I think he had 75 points the entire season last year, and he's already. I mean, a little over halfway through the season, he's already matched that total this year. So he's definitely back on track there, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's enough. Oh, no. What did you have?
Well, I think we've been talking about prospects a lot.
Oh,
Maybe we can talk about the boss prospects here. 4 Blackhawks prospects have been nominated for the Hobey Baker Award.
Awesome.
Sasha Boisvert for North Dakota, Sam Renzel for Minnesota, Ryan Green for Boston, and then Aiden Thompson for Denver. So good to see that for sure. Lots to look forward to there. Sam Renzel, a defenseman in there, could be a top pair guy. Just saying. And yeah, Boisvert, right? North Dakota player, right? Could be our 2C, right? A good two-way player, complete. Ryan Green, I think this is his 3rd year at BU now, so hopefully he signs his ELC, and maybe we'll see a few games out of him then the year. And Aiden Thompson, yeah, he's also, I think he's a senior. He's a bit older, kind of like Slager was last year, so maybe we'll see him at the end of the year as well. So yeah, lot to like there for sure.
So Boisvert has 18 points, 9 goals, 9 assists in 23 games this season.
Pretty good production for a freshman.
It is. I would still assume that he probably goes back to North Dakota for another season, though.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been the trek, right? Days are at 2 years, but 1.5 with injury. More is in a second season. He probably signs none of this year and maybe plays with the Hogs. And maybe eventually make some games with the Hawks next year. So that seems to be the trek, right? 2 years at college, and then you sign the LC. And yeah, that's probably the play with Boisvert as well, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Moore's kind of having a down season, I guess, if you want to call it that. A little bit. Not as good as his numbers
don't. His numbers don't jump off the page, but you know what? You look at the World Juniors. I watched him there. Like he just was a good role player there for the U.S. It's probably been the same at Minnesota. So, not again, as somebody said, he could be. I think he's more of a second line guy, middle six, maybe second line guy, right? I don't know if he's a first line because somebody put him out there. He could be Bedard's complimentary piece. I don't know about that. I think he's good. Oliver Moore, I think he's very intriguing. He's so fast. He's definitely has a potentially high ceiling, but I think there are other aspects of his game that could be better and might hinder him at NHL level as well. So I don't know if he's just going to be a star necessarily. But yeah, I think the stats don't jump on the page. But I think he's had a good season, right? Pretty similar to last year. We'd like to see more progression, right, versus kind of flatlining, but that's okay. I'm not really too concerned about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the University of Minnesota is also like loaded with players too.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Snuggerud commands the puck a lot there. He's got 33 points in 26 games. Woof. It looks like the Blues got a good one there, which kind of stinks.
They got guys like Matthew Wood. Like it's a loaded roster. It's not like he's playing. I've checked a lot of times he's second line, even third line. So it's not like he's not like he's playing first line minutes every night there. Yeah.
Did you know that Casey Middlestat's 2 brothers are also on the team right now? Luke and John.
Luke. Oh wow, I didn't know. Yeah, I know Luke was. I didn't know he had 2. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
But more too. Like it's not just the offense. Like he's a pretty good two-way player. They play him in the PK a lot. Similar to Nazar. So he's a responsible center, right? Could be the 2 or 3C, or maybe they move him in the wing, right? So I think he's a versatile player, which helps, right? Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, I forget how a Hobey Baker nomination works, but doesn't like every team nominate a guy, right?
That sounds right. Yeah, I could be wrong about that. But yeah, so over Renzel, it says a lot too that he's nominated over guys like Stuggerud, right? Renzel has had such a good season there. We've talked about him a good chunk on the show when we get to prospect part, but man, this guy is so intriguing. I know Frank Sev always seemed pretty optimistic that he could be a first pair guy for the Hawks. It's like, well, you look at that, it's like, well, Lepshinov should be. Korchinski could be. Vlasic, you could argue, already is. Not to bring it back to my point earlier, but it's like, it seems like we have a whole lot of guys in this D-Corps, this prospect pool, who already could be top pair or top 4 guys. So it's like, all of a sudden, there's not a whole lot of room there to work with. almost like we should be looking at drafting forwards, but I don't know. I keep getting back to that point. Lee he's living my head rent free right now, man. I wish he was here right now. I can't wait to talk to him Friday about that. But yeah, I mean, Rinzel had a great season for sure.
Yeah, the comparisons to Brock Faber are pretty interesting from what I've heard.
Really, they're throwing that out there.
They are.
Ooh. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I know I talk about Brock Faber a lot, but like, I'd love to have a guy like that in our team here. So Rinzel could be that. Faber went to Minnesota too, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's
Big
right. Well, there
Minnesota
we go. That's probably where that came from, right? Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's move away from the prospect talk. The only other thing I had for NHL Hour was this report that apparently Kevin Cheveldayoff, former Blackhawks assistant general manager, went on Winnipeg radio yesterday and said that he hopes the team is in the mix for Jonathan Toews.
Yeah, I'd say of the teams I've said, thrown out there for Toews, I'd say Winnipeg's probably been the top one. It makes sense, hometown team, right? I think a guy like that come playoff time could be if he could still be an effective, I don't know, third line center, right? Still a good two-way player, win your face-offs. Now, his production might not be the same, especially since he's been away for a few years now. But if he is back, like he says he is, his health is back. I mean, 37 years old, probably going to be 38 soon. He still produce. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, right? I'd rather see him there than the Jets are a team I wouldn't mind seeing Jonathan Toews return to. I like the Jets.
Do you want to hear the quotes from Cheveldayoff on it?
Yeah, sure.
I'll read them to you because we don't have them in clip form, but I will read them. Knowing Jonathan and knowing what standard he holds himself to as an athlete and what impact he wants to have in games when he plays, I think it will be an interesting journey to watch how things unfold with him. Certainly, if he's progressing to that point in time, it would be a real welcome conversation to see if there's a fit both ways. I think it would be a great story for his career too. Not that he needs another story to his career, but I think he's proud of his roots and would be an interesting fit. We've talked a lot about like the inflammation that he faced, the long COVID, the post COVID-19 symptoms,
response,
yeah, and the Ayurvedic panchakarma treatment that he underwent in India, and the interview with GQ, basically saying that he honestly feels all clear and all that stuff. So I think I don't know. I'm going to read the last bit of quotes from this. There's lots of things to unfold there. He's an honest player. He's not going to put himself in a situation. He's going to want to play to win. These guys don't want to just say that they want to play. He knows the standard he would have to be at, and we would certainly hope to be in that mix. I think he's going to have to push himself to get his body to respond and see how it responds. I think there's lots of layers yet from that standpoint. We haven't chatted in the last little while, but I certainly had some conversations with his representatives with respect to where things were.
Nothing about a timeline there. I'd be curious to see about how that works out, right? I would imagine it would be could probably return probably sometime before the playoffs, right? They wouldn't want it still on then, so probably around like trade deadline around then if I had to speculate there, but. That'd be pretty fun to see, man. Jonathan Toews making a comeback. Again, it's one of those things we've been hearing things about it. I'll believe it when I see it, right? It's a lot of talk, a lot of speculation, but until it actually happens, I have my doubts there. But it'll be nice. I'd love to see it, right? I've missed watching Jonathan Toews play. Even if he's not the same, right? Just seeing him back would be nice. Even if it's not with the Hawks, which obviously won't be, unfortunately, delusion. But that'd definitely be a team I'd be interested to see him with.
Yeah. So, I'm looking at the Jets. Like lineup right now on Daily Faceoff. And basically, so I guess I'm happened to Vlad Namestnikov. I don't know what happened with him. Did they waive him or no? I mean, he's actually having an excellent season. I don't know why they would. So he might be banged. Is he hurt right now? I don't really know what's going on here with Vlad Namestnikov. But essentially, Adam Lowry's been bumped up to second line center, and he's also dated. Oh no, Vlad's Namestnikov's third line center. I'm losing my mind here. So Vlad Namestnikov's third line center. Adam Lowry has been bumped up to second line center, and Rasmus Kupari is their fourth line center. I could see a fit for Jonathan Toews there. I really could if he can play.
I think Toews would be where do you think he slots in there? I don't know if I mean, 'cause obviously the way he is, it is age and his, the fact that he's been away from the game for a while. He's not going to be in the top six, but fourth line though, I don't know. I feel like it'd be third line probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I think he bumps down one of those guys. Yeah.
But man, like, you know, you put it right now, the third line wingers are Nino Niederreiter and Cole Perfetti. Like,
Cool Perfetti, yeah.
those are not two bad wingers to try and make a return to the
No.
NHL with.
Not bad at all. That could be a good line come playoff time. A lot of times it's that third line, the playoffs. That's like the money line. So, yeah, I mean that could be a good fit there. Yeah, I think they could use that, right? Especially since like the Jets, like you look at the last few playoff years, right? They've been early exits, right? I think they have somebody like Taves in the room who's been there, done that, who's won to come playoff time. He's a winner, right? Good leader. Always steps up his game too when it matters. Like that's a good piece to have, I think, for sure.
Yeah. All right. That was kind of the only thought I had on it. You know, I don't know, you know, the other teams he's been linked to, it's been like Toronto, Colorado, it's been Vegas, you know, I don't know. No, the Jets are the one. Definitely not Vegas.
Yeah, Jets. Maybe I wouldn't mind Colorado. I think he'd be a decent fit there as well. Yeah, but no, definitely not Vegas. I have no interest in that. Toronto, yeah, no.
No, come on, dude. You don't want to see him on my Maple Leafs?
No, I'd rather see the Jets if it's a Canadian team.
Why? So he can lose in the first round? No, I'm just kidding. I can't make that joke as a.
Well, you're a Maple Leafs fan.
All right. Okay, let's hit a break here. Let's take a quick break. We will be back with the National Hockey League hour of Chicago Hockey Radio here shortly. Before we go, we're 3 subscribers away from 400 right now.
Yeah.
If we could get there by the end of the show, that would honestly be some of the coolest.
Share it around,
please. Let's get to 400 today. That would be really nice. We tried to get there on the stream. We were at like 389 and we were like, I said on the stream.
Jumped quite a bit there.
Yeah, I said that was because I said on the stream that if we got to 400, I would do a backflip or I would attempt a backflip on the stream. And we didn't push it over the line. So, you know, I guess they didn't really want to see me do a backflip that much on camera and see me crack my head open.
I'd be worried for your safety.
No, I was gonna have Lee and Raven help me. Like I was not gonna do that just straight up. Like just
I was like, I don't know if you can even do that. Yeah.
I can't. Just I know without even trying that I would. You could give me 1,000 tries with the guarantee that I wouldn't hurt myself and I wouldn't be able to do it.
I couldn't. I'm not a very like flexible like person of that stuff. So yeah, no.
Justin, I won't lie. That doesn't shock me, brother. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Ooh, bird.
So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, please, please, please. It really helps us out a lot. It makes, you know, putting out these clips that we put, you know, we're pumping out clips. If you guys haven't noticed, we put a clip out at least once a day, Monday to Friday. Yesterday we got 2 because we made this like commercial sort of post.
That's good.
You know,
yeah, nice.
Yeah, what we're trying to do with that is we're trying to siphon off our followers from TikTok over to our Instagram because of the unknown future of TikTok.
We have a 75-day extension there. Yeah,
but you know what though? Like TikTok almost like it knows, dude. Like it knows that we're trying to take our followers because it got literally 0 traction on TikTok, and then the Schaefer video I put like got some buzz around. You know, got like if the Schaefer clip that I put out had gotten the view, if the commercial clip had gotten the views of the Schaefer clip, we probably would have, you know, ended up with a few more Instagram followers. But alas,
we need to make a clip of my response to Lee.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Honestly, I'm down. I'm down for that. That's a good clip idea. Sure. But yeah, no. So if you enjoy the clips, if you enjoy the show, like following us on Instagram really helps us out a lot. You know, heading over to Spotify, even if you don't like use Spotify, you know, having it and like following the page and, you know, having it in the mix of your stuff, like it helps us out a lot. And, you know, leaving a 5-star rating is super, super easy. You know, you can also follow us on our personals too. You know, we don't really, you know, you can follow Lee and Justin on their personals. Don't follow me on my personal. You know, but I guess you can, and if I like you enough, I'll let you follow. But you know, Chicago Hockey Radio is where we want everybody to go to. That's really the big one. And yeah, all right, we'll be back shortly with NHL Hour. Keep it here. And just like that, we are back. Chicago Hockey Radio, NHL Hour. Justin Lynch, Tassos Kirkos. Remember, no Lee Grassman today. We will all be together, though, on Friday. Hawks, like we said, don't play again until Friday. However, there is a 4-game slate around the National Hockey League tonight, and they all look to be pretty good ones, too. So you will get your hockey fix tonight, as well as an 11-game slate tomorrow before the Hawks are in action. So lots and lots of hockey to get to. Some news, some notes, you know, the biggest comeback in Nashville Predators history, you know, against the stumbling San Jose Sharks. I actually...
I have some things to say about this.
Yeah, that was a good
Oh,
one.
you can go first.
No. I was just teeing it up. Remember, subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, all that good stuff. Do we want to start with Nashville? Do you want to start with Connor
Yeah.
McDavid?
Yeah, let's start with Nashville.
Okay.
Or actually, let's start the Sharks. Yeah, so the Sharks have a 5-1 lead, I think. What is it, like halfway through the second period or something like that? And yeah, they just happen to give up 6 unanswered goals there and lose 7-5. if there's a team I've seen the last 2 years that's blown more leads late in games, multi-goal leads, and I can recall last season, right? Two of them were against the Hawks. We were leading going to the third period, and they happened to blow these massive leads in the third period. I don't know, man. I mean, I know they're bad over there, but can anybody really be this bad? It's a little sus, honestly. I think it is a little suspect. I think they're throwing games over there in San Jose land. I think they're taking on purpose.
Really?
I'm going to put that out there right now. I think they're deliberately losing over there, and I think the National Hockey League should probably be investigating them over this. I'm not even joking right now. I'm not just spitballing. Like that's so suspect, man. It's like you just stop playing the game. It's like if you're good enough to take a 5-1 lead, you're probably not going to give up 6 unanswered. But anyway, it is the Sharks, I know, and we are tied with them in the standings. So I think they're technically last now because I think they have 3 games in hand, or we have 3 games in hand over them. So, but maybe that's a good thing for us, right? Maybe if they get the first pick again, they get to make the decision, right? Higgins or Schaefer, and then that just takes it out of our hands, right? Maybe getting the second pick for the Hawks isn't a bad thing, right? If that does end up happening, right? The lottery system. I don't know. I just think it's a little sus over there.
Yeah. The thing about tanking in the NHL is that it's never going to be the players on the ice. Like, tanking is a front office job. Like, you can tank dude, actually, I don't know. None of us actually responded to Lee when he sent this, but you look at the roster that the Blackhawks were trotting last year at this point.
Way worse.
This is tanking. This is tanking. The Chicago Blackhawks roster, January 7th, 2024. This was sent by Lee. First line, Ryan Donato, Lucas Reichel, Philip Kurashev. Second line, Cole Gottman, Jason Dickinson, Colin Blackwell. Third line, Boris Kachuk, Mackenzie Entwistle, Reese Johnson. Fourth line, Rem Pitlick, Brent Seney, Zach Sanford. Here's the defense core. First pair.
AHL team.
That is an AHL team. First pair, Jared Tenorti, Connor Murphy. Second pair, Alex Vlasic, Jacob Magna. Third pair, Kevin Korchinski, Nikita Zaitsev, and the same goalie tandem we are rocking today, Arvid Soderblom and Peter Mrazek. So January 7th, 2024, that would have been Bedard still injured. And
that was the worst last year. That month of Bedardless hockey and last year's team, some of the worst hockey I've ever watched in my life. Yeah, that was taking. Like, this year's roster, say what you will, say what you will about how bad we are. This year's team wasn't designed necessarily to get the first overall pick, right? It was supposed to be better, but it wasn't. There you go. I just find it funny just in the media. It's like how there's these different narratives around the Sharks and the Hawks. It's like they never get called out for this stuff. It's always the Hawks, like they don't deserve Bedard, like they've been tanking, yada yada, and they get bad talk for. But the Sharks, it's like all cool over there. Everything's in sunny land over there. It's just the different ways that they talk about the Sharks and the Hawks and with the relatively same situations. I find always pretty fascinating to me. I think it's kind of funny, but yeah.
So I'm not like totally against your San Jose Sharks or tanking theory, I don't know. Let's look at their lineup right now according to DFO, what it says. And I actually have an interesting stat. So and then we can talk about the one Nashville stat that I thought was kind of interesting from that whole ordeal last night. So, okay, Daily Faceoff is being weird. It has every team but the San Jose Sharks right now available for their lineups. Okay. So the San Jose Sharks blew a lead on Monday afternoon during the MLK game to the Boston Bruins. So the Bruins over the Sharks is currently the longest active winning streak by one team over another in the National Hockey League. I read this on my show, and I'm going to read it again. So the Bruins have a 14-game winning streak over the San Jose Sharks right now, dating all the way back to February 9th, 2017. The longest ever win streak, in case you were wondering, by one team over another is the Montreal Canadiens over the Washington Capitals, owning a 23-game win streak over the Caps. So that is the all-time record. That is 1974 to 1978. They played each other 23 times, and the Habs took all of them. Here's where it gets interesting, though. The Sharks, not only do the Bruins have the longest win streak active over the Sharks are also victim to the second and third longest active streak and fourth active winning streaks. Okay, here it is. The Florida Panthers have an 11-game win streak over the Sharks dating back to 2019. The Nashville Predators have an 11-game win streak over the San Jose Sharks going back to 2019, which I think that might have been updated to 12, but either
that's
way.
clearly why they blew that lead. They wanted to keep that streak alive there.
And the Colorado Avalanche also have an 11-game win streak over the San Jose Sharks dating back to 2021, so a bit more recent. But the San Jose Sharks are the owner of the 4 longest active losing streaks against a single opponent, which is kind of crazy.
Very interesting. Yeah, at least we don't make it obvious, man. They ain't even trying to hide it over there, dude. Like, that's so funny, man.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. And the interesting thing about the Nashville comeback, Nashville was it was their first 4-goal comeback in franchise history. In games that they were trailing by 4, they were 0, 173, and 0. They hadn't even taken a game beyond regulation that they had ever been down 4 goals in.
Never had a 4-goal comeback in their entire history.
Nope, that was the biggest comeback in franchise history last night.
Well, it makes sense to be against the Sharks, so there you go. I don't even know if that counts, but because they're just doing it on purpose over there. But that is nuts. Yeah. How does that even happen? Wow, well, there you go. And by the way, the Predators now, it's like you look at us, like we have a 7-point gap to the next teams. Like it's literally going to be between us and the Sharks in the first pick again, because the Sabres and the Predators are tied at 41 points, right, and 30th, and then there's a 7-point gap. That's like 4 wins. So there you go. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting too. Okay. Raven, could you actually pull up Instagram and get the clips that I sent you for my show this morning too, just so we can maybe hear Draisaitl? Because I just thought that was an important clip to
McDavid.
Yeah. Let's transition to McDavid instead of talking about. Okay, no. While Raven's pulling up the clips before we get to McDavid, so the Predators have won 4 in a row. Look, I mean, this is a team that we have painted as dead in the water.
They're not making the playoffs.
They're not making the play. You don't think there's any chance?
I'm not sold. They're not having another 18-game, whatever it was, or 14-game point. Was it an 18-game point streak they had last season or something like that? In the tail? I don't think that's happening again. Like, I think, yeah, they're better than 30th. Like, they're going to probably finish, I don't know, like, probably like late teens, early 20s. So, like, they're better than they are in the standings right now. I think they'll have a better second half of this season here. They already are, but I don't think they have some Blues Linsanity run than them. That's not a playoff team. I think I know they've been playing better hockey lately, but these wins, 2 of those wins came against the Hawks and the Sharks. So like, what are those? Like, that doesn't really mean a lot there. So I don't know, I'm not really sold.
Yeah, I just they're 10 points behind the Calgary Flames right now. Which means
5 wins. Good luck.
That's 5 wins. You'd have to really string it together. I just look at like the teams ahead of them. Like I think they're better than the Ducks. They're only 1 point behind the Ducks with a game in hand, so I could see them jumping over them.
Oh yeah, they're better than the Ducks. They're better than the Kraken.
Yeah,
like a few of these teams they are better than for sure. But I don't know if they're better than the Club. I mean, Blues, no.
The Club has been playing pretty good lately.
Yeah, I don't think they're better than them. So I mean, even these teams in the Eastern Conference, I don't think so. They're better than the Sabres, which they already have them anyway. So I mean, it's really only a few teams here I could see them possibly jumping ahead of. So it's not up to get in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think if there is a team right now that is super far out of it, I could see them.
You think it's them?
I think they have the best. I'm not saying they have a chance. I'm just saying they have the best chance out of a team that's like super out of it right now.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, maybe.
Like I don't think Buffalo is making a big turnaround here. I don't think the
Islanders they're done. Yeah, they got nothing. The Islanders, unless they keep racking up loser points like Vancouver, they're not making it. Rangers have kind of ride the ship a little bit. They could, but they're not way out of it. They're only like a few points. They're only 2 points. So you're saying of like a team that's like way out of it. Like they're kind of in a race. So that's kind of a different situation.
Yeah, I would say the teams that are currently way out of it. Detroit, the Islanders, Buffalo. I guess you could throw Pittsburgh in that mix, even though technically they're only 4 points behind. It feels like 40.
Detroit had a run going there. Detroit had a run going there, but it seems like the steam is starting to wear off a little bit there. It's kind of starting to revert back to where they were. So I don't think they're a playoff team, unfortunately, for Kane. Yeah.
You think they're already sick of playing the 131 under Todd McClellan?
Yeah, it's starting to wear off there. I think they're better off with him. I think they're a better team now than they were under Lalonde, but it was hard to get worse than that. But I don't think they got a run at them left. They're not going to go on another 7-game win streak or whatever.
No, I don't think so either. Okay, here we go. San Jose Sharks line combinations. Are they tanking? First line, Zetterlund, Granlund, Will Smith. Second line, Eklund, Celebrini, Wenberg. Third line, Kovalenko, Cunnin, Colin Graff. Fourth line, Barclay Goodrow, Ty Dellandrea, Carl Grundstrom.
I'd say the offense is actually like not that bad. I mean, it's probably their forward core is probably better than ours, but the defense and the goaltending when it's not Askarov is absolutely abysmal. I mean, there's absolutely nothing there. That's more there I look at is like, yeah.
Dude, my bad take of the season was that Alexander Georgiev was gonna get them a few more wins. That was my
Yeah, no, he's not
take.
that guy. He is
No.
not that guy. They should start Scott more often because when he's in net, they at least have a chance. But
Yeah.
Georgiev is just terrible, man. Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, he's not good. Yeah, and I guess you can make the argument that any team that's trotting out Cody Ceci on their first pair is maybe tanking a little bit.
Yeah, like Bowman's had a good season on D, but like outside of that, it's like really nobody has on that D4.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk McDavid. So Connor McDavid, when we did the show on Monday, the official ruling hadn't come out yet. Lee and I talked about the play a little bit. I am kind of interested what your thoughts are too, and then the actual decision. It is 3 games. My take on that also didn't really pan out. I thought Tyler Myers was going to get a longer suspension than Connor McDavid, and they both ended up being 3 games. Just what did you think of the play originally on Saturday when it happened? The lead up to it and all that, and then what do you think of the actual suspension?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of complaining about it from Oilers fans, and which isn't surprising. They like the line over there, but I mean, look, I know he was you could argue he was defending himself, right? Retribution, whatever you want to call it, the play leading up to it with him and Myers. But I mean, he did cross-check a guy in the face. So I don't think the suspension, like I know a lot of people are whining because it's a star player. I don't think that makes it any different. I don't think those players should be immune from these types of punishments, right? So 3 games is maybe more than I expected because I don't think he has a history or anything like that. So maybe a game or 2. 3 games seemed maybe a little much, but I'm not surprised by suspension. I think it was warranted, honestly. I think the fine wouldn't have been enough. So you could argue I might be in the minority there because I know a lot of fans are complaining about it and pundits as well, like protecting star players. But like, I mean, I think they took it a little too far. Again, I know it was maybe you could argue his defense, but I don't think cross-checking a guy in the face. There's really no defense for that, in my opinion.
Do you? So you do think that it's warranted the 3 games? I don't hate it. I thought it'd be closer to 2 than 3.
I think the suspension was warranted. I think the timeline maybe was a little more than I expected. Yeah. I expected maybe a game or 2, not 3.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a little bit more sense then.
But there's some people complaining out there like that, like he did nothing wrong. Like, brother, he like I don't know. I mean, I think the suspension was warranted. You can't cross check a guy, no matter what led up to it. That's not it. That's not it. Yeah.
Do you think? Now, I heard a lot of discussion with this. Apparently McDavid is like, I heard some stats that McDavid was 197th in the NHL in penalties drawn. I heard somebody else say that he was like 220th in penalties drawn in the NHL. That seems a bit puzzling to me, right?
Does you think he would draw more penalties?
Shouldn't he? Like, he's the best player in the world. He's the fastest player in the world. It's not like players aren't taking penalties against him.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue something there, maybe potentially. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like sometimes he doesn't get certain calls that others do, and maybe there's a statement out that the NHL needs to do more to protect its star players, right? And that's kind of why he had the reaction he did, just stick up for himself, which from that aspect, fair enough, right? But at the same time, right, I just don't think they should be necessarily treated that much differently at the same time, right?
I agree with you. The counter argument is like, nobody's going to an Edmonton Oilers game to watch Noah Philp play. Like, they're going to watch Connor McDavid play. Like,
yeah.
That's who people pay money to go see. And if you're not, like, the NFL protects their quarterbacks. The NBA has rules
too
to protect
much.
stars.
I mean, some of the flags and penalties that Patrick Mahomes gets, it's an embarrassment to the league, honestly. So that's the thing. I don't want the NHL to go down that road. I get it. You got to protect your players. I'm all for it. But, like, at the same time, you can't make these extreme, like, how do I put this? What's the word for it? You can't make it too obvious, I guess, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You got to establish a precedent. I just think, like, some of these players get these extremely soft calls in other sports. Like, NFL is a big one with that, especially in the playoffs. It's kind of a joke. It's like you breathe on them the wrong way, you get a call. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess I understand that sentiment, but at the same time, I think it goes both ways. You got to balance it.
Yeah, and like, this is hockey, remember, too. Like, hockey is a game that players used to police themselves. Like, you literally had enforcers in the lineup to make sure that like Wayne Gretzky didn't face this kind of abuse. Like Wayne Gretzky faced a different kind of abuse, but also
That was a much different. That was a much more brutal game than today. It's not even close.
yeah, but like people also
Yeah.
like knew not to touch Wayne Gretzky too because you had Dave Semenko on the team like ready to kill him if you
Yeah,
tried to
you're
touch
saying the
Wayne.
Oilers. Yeah, that's not as much of a thing now. Like some teams still have like a Matt Rempe type or someone like that. Forcers, they're not extinct, but they are endangered, I guess. So it's not as much of a thing in today's NHL. But the Oilers got guys in there. They got the guys like Corey Perry, you think, who would kind of play that role if McDavid's kind of targeted, which he kind of did. So, yeah, maybe there's an argument that's just like kind of keep it to themselves, right? Let them deal with it. Right? Keep the rest out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, can we play the Draisaitl clip on it just because I thought this was interesting.
To say towards it, certainly think 3 games is a little too much for either side, but yeah, I guess we don't overly care about having our best players in the league in the game, so yeah, I'll leave it at that. I mean, yeah, I mean, like that can get avoided. It doesn't even need to get to whatever happened at the end of the game, right? That's how I see it. That's to me clearly a penalty. He's trying to get back into the Connor doesn't want to tangle with Garland in that situation. There's 12 seconds left. Like we're looking to score. Like we're not looking to tangle with anybody. So, but I also know the game happens quick, and that's just like the refs aren't going to make the right call every single time. I understand that, but in that instance, I think that could have been avoided. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was important to hear his thoughts on it too. And I mean, obviously he wants his buddy to play, but I thought it was interesting that he thought that it was a bit much on. He said it was a bit much on both sides. That he also thought because it is essentially the same play. Excuse me, but like McDavid delivers the cross check, and then right in the back of the video, Myers delivers the exact same cross check to Evan Bouchard's face, and yeah, I think it was a bit much, but I do think the NHL needs to protect its stars a little bit more. I do agree that it doesn't need to go the full length of football, but
yeah, just the favoritism. Somebody in chat said the favoritism in the NFL is kind of absurd. Yeah, I agree. I don't want the NHL to go down that route. There's a balance to strike. Yeah, you want to protect your star players, but you got to establish a precedent. Make it fair, right? Consistent, which they were consistent in this instance, right? Didn't Myers get the same punishment there?
Yeah, he did.
So there you go. I think that's I look at that. I think that's fair. That's a fair call, right? Myers should have been treated differently than McDavid in that instance. Even though, yeah, there's nobody showing up to watch Tyler Myers. He's a traffic cone out there these days, but still, same incident. Yeah, same punishment. I think that's fair. Yeah.
All right, McDavid. All right, that's McDavid talk. Yeah. Oilers lost. Did you see the goal that, speaking of Corey Perry and the Oilers without McDavid? So the first game,
there was
the nachos,
there was Cheetos nachos that was thrown on the ice. I think Perry skated over it as he one time did it. He put a little extra cheese on that one timer. That was something else there. So yeah, I don't know how did the fans just throw that on the ice? How does that even get there?
He threw it on the ice.
And I think the Caps were kind of complaining about that. The play should have been stopped or whatever. I don't know about that one, but that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's something you see every day. That'll be in the blooper reels for a while for sure. There's been some weird things, wacky things thrown in hockey rinks and on the ice, man.
I was wondering, how does that not get called back? Is there no rule?
Oh, you think the play should have been stopped for that?
Yeah. What? Somebody threw nachos on the ice. What are you talking about? Of course it should have been stopped. What if somebody threw a beer bottle on the ice, dude?
Well, yeah, that's a little different, I guess. I see your point. Did it happen Louis right as it was happening? No,
no, it didn't happen right. It was it was already there. The nachos were there on the ice.
Oh, how'd they not see it?
I don't know. And then immediately Logan Thompson points to the nachos. Did you see that? And then they had to scrape off the cheese off the ice afterward. The ice crew had to come out, and I don't know.
In that
dude.
case, maybe it should have been stopped then. Yeah, maybe my vision is not great. I don't know if I really noticed that was there the whole time. So, not something you see every day.
My thing about some of these kinds of call, with goalie interference, even and even extending to nachos on the ice is if it were Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and your team got scored against with nachos on the ice,
Ooh, that would be
There would
That
be
would be
riots. There
controversial
would
as hell.
literally be riots on the ice.
Yeah.
Or after the
Yeah.
like.
Well, Vancouver, the city would be burnt down. It'd be ashes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude! Bob Stauffer, Oilers radio and Edmonton beat reporter. He made a joke on Edmonton radio that says, after that whole ordeal, he was like, Vancouver's got 2 riots and no cups. I thought that was good.
Oh,
But if
that's
it
great.
were Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final and there were nachos on the ice, like that goal
Oh,
should come
yeah.
back.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah. Playoffs. Yeah. No, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting too.
Speaking of Vancouver,
oh, you want to
do
talk?
you want to talk?
So
Oh,
before
we're
we
gonna
get
go
into JT
somewhere else?
Miller,
Yeah. Okay.
just while I mentioned Logan Thompson, this just came across my thing today.
His
Apparently,
stats are unreal, dude.
his stats are unreal. So he was on Sportsnet Radio today, the Fan Hockey Show with Matt Marchese and Mike Fuda, and the quote going around today from Logan Thompson: "A lot of people thought I was in the running, but they never reached out to me." As far as Hockey
camp
Canada,
for the Four Nations.
yep.
Well, they gotta be. How are they so stupid over there? Like they made the same mistakes at the World Juniors roster, and they're goaltending, man. I guess they're gonna have to rely on Montembeau in that. Good luck. I think the U.S. gonna wipe them up. So yeah, gonna be good for them. I'm glad they left him off the team, but I don't know why. I mean, he's a clear-cut starter there, and that didn't even reach out. It's just mind-boggling to me what's going on over there.
How do you not
Terrible.
even call him?
Unreal. Yeah, I mean, well, that's what you get for Liam Bedard off the roster. I mean, I don't know. I think they deserve whatever comes to them.
I think that blows my mind. Hockey Canada is just a total mess. I mean, we don't need to go down that hole again, but like, what the heck, man? Like, that's crazy. You don't even call the guy?
That's insane. Like you would have assumed like they didn't pick him for reasons, but they didn't even reach out. That's unreal.
Yeah. Bob McKenzie's midseason NHL draft rankings just dropped.
Oh boy, Schaefer's probably one.
Schaefer 1, Hagens 2, Misa 3,
Other woke nonsense.
Misa 3, Martone 4, Anton Frendel 5, Caleb Denoyer 6, Roger McQueen 7, Victor Eklund 8, Jake O'Brien 9, and Jackson Smith 10. Jake O'Brien, actually, somebody in chat on Monday's episode was Jake O'Brien. You got to watch Jake O'Brien play hockey. I guess he plays on the Brantford Bulldogs with Lardis and Van Acker. So he was like, getting some chemistry there. I'm going to just keep reading this because just the top 15. 11 is Logan Hensler out of the University of Wisconsin right now. I like that kid a lot. He's a defenseman, though. Radim Maturka at 12. Brady Martin at 13, who's a really just Canadian farm boy kind of kid. Lyndon Lakovic at 14. And Carter Bear at 15. So that's not a bad list.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it seems like pretty much everybody is just completely changed their mind there. Remember, like not long ago, Higgins was like the presumptive one. Now everybody has Schaefer there, even though he hasn't played the last month. So explain that one to me. Yeah, I know his tape must be really good for all these people. Everybody thinks he's him, but yeah, I think he's good. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's like
You think
it's just
Lee
a
got-
sudden change there.
You think Lee got Bob McKenzie's tape?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, and he'll probably use that as justification for his pick. Like, oh, all the scouts are saying it, so therefore we must. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's great. They can have that opinion. I've already talked about this today. We'll save it for Friday. But yeah, I think our American boy James Higgins has the media against him there. I'm going to put that out there.
No, I know that
The
just
Canadian
came
bias
across.
there.
It just came across on my feed, so I figured I'd
And
mention
these
it.
are all Canadians that are putting out these lists too.
True.
So yeah, just keep that in mind. Yeah.
True. That is actually very true. I haven't seen a lot of like American draft analysts. There's not a ton of American draft
Yeah.
analysts, first of all. But
Yeah, they really aren't. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Craig Bunn's another one I'm sure he referenced. So yeah.
Yeah, there's like, there's Button, there's, Ellis is Canadian, even though I trust what Stephen Ellis has to say, because that guy is watching the tape more than anybody else.
Oh yeah, more than we are. Yeah. So I definitely take his opinion more than anyway.
Yeah. All right. 4 games in the National Hockey League tonight. Bruins visiting the Devils, Blue Jackets visiting the Maple Leafs, Avalanche hosting the Winnipeg Jets, and the Florida Panthers in the late one taking on the LA Kings, second half of a back-to-back for them after they drubbed the Ducks 5-2 last night. What sticks out to you? Anything suiting your fancy tonight? Which one are you
Jets
going to be
Avalanche,
tapping into?
That's a playoff rematch there. Those two teams always seem to put on a good game. So probably be tapped into that one. I mean, when I get home late tonight. So yeah, Panthers. I mean, pretty much all these games honestly are pretty good. They're all kind of bangers here. So I mean, I think you can't really go wrong here.
Yeah.
Panthers Kings too, like you said, it's a good one. I'm sure you'll be watching the Leafs game.
I probably will tune into the Leafs game here. There's some injury stuff. Max Pacioretty was placed on IR.
He's had a hard time of it lately, Matt.
Yeah, he has. The Wild, Kirill Kaprizov and Jared Spurgeon maybe will return tomorrow against the Utah Hockey Club. They both took part in line rushes of practice on Wednesday. John Hines saying he is cautiously optimistic. That's a good sign.
Thursday is actually, yeah, that's good for them. Thursday is actually pretty intriguing. I'm more looking forward to that. Cab Grubbing is always a good original six game there. Flyers Rangers, pretty decent, underrated rivalry there. We got a Preds Sharks rematch. I wonder how that's going to go. So that'll be pretty entertaining. Canucks Oilers, those two teams are in the thick of it. So speaking of Canucks, there's the rumor that JT Miller is. I don't know if it's not confirmed or anything, but it sounds like there's a pretty good chance that he'll be going to Canes. That's correct, right?
Yeah, Andy Strickland from the Cam and Strick podcast. He's a Blues guy. He put out the report yesterday. Sometimes Strick is on it. Sometimes Strick is really off it.
Yeah.
So, I trust what he says. You know what I mean? I believe he's hearing something about it if he goes to say it on his show, I've heard a lot of teams in the mix. It seemed like the Rangers were really close to something on Saturday. There were the reports that they were about to hold him out of the game, and then he went and played and had a couple of assists. He had another assist last night for the Canucks when they lost to the Sabres. But yeah, I think the Devils are in the mix a little bit. I think the Islanders could be in the mix. The sentiment seems to be that he just wants to go back to the East Coast, something Northeast, maybe even. If I were the Boston Bruins, I'd be really trying to get my hands on JT Miller. I don't know what they have in terms of assets that the Canucks could want, from the Bees.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes could, like, if they, they've got some of these young players, like Bradley Nadeau is a really good young player currently playing, relevant to Chicago Hockey Radio. He plays on the Wolves currently, because that's their minor league affiliate. Jackson Blake is another kid. Like, if you could try and pull him out of Carolina, even though he's been like a lineup mainstay for them, they definitely have some players that you could try and but I don't think Vancouver wants futures. I think they want NHL players. I think they want defensemen. Carolina does have a lot of defensemen too. Like they do, that is where their surplus is, but it's a lot of guys that they're not like budding young superstars. Like they're all guys that are like either in their smack dab in the middle of their prime or maybe even on the tail end of it a little bit. Like, are you really going to trade for Shane Gostisbehere? Are you going to trade JT Miller for Shane Gostisbehere? Dmitry Orlov, Jacob Slavin's untouchable. Brent Burns is 40. Jalen Chatfield isn't that much of a needle mover, right? And you just signed Sean Walker too, so you're not going to give him up. So I don't know, man. I've heard that the Carolina Hurricanes are in the mix too. I don't know.
Yeah, in general, the Canucks definitely need help. It's funny, look at this. Like, in 46 games, they've only won 20. 10 overtime shootout loss points is pretty insane. We're on track for almost 20 there. Out of the playoff race right now, the Flames are beating them out. And hasn't Besser been in trade rumors too? Am I wrong in saying that?
Besser has been
out there as well.
Yeah, Besser has been in trade rumors. So is Thatcher Demko.
Pedersen, yeah.
Thatcher Demko really quietly has been involved in trade rumors. Which, dude, if Besser's a UFA after this year. I have been really high on the Brock Besser to his hometown Minnesota Wild thing because the Wild are going to have a ton of cap space and they are going to look to weaponize it this year. And I wouldn't be shocked if they went after
contracts if I come off the books.
Yeah. The buyouts are off the books. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Besser ends up a Minnesota Wild, even if they hang on to him and he just walks in free agency because he's going to ask for. If I'm Brock Besser, I'm asking for at least $7 million on a max term deal. But dude, if you lose Besser and you trade away Miller and you Thatcher Demko doesn't want to play there anymore, you're cooked.
That's not a good sign. You better hope Pedersen figures out his game because outside that, so you look at that team almost DeBrusk been a decent fit, but a lot of those guys who had insane seasons last year kind of fallen off production wise. Really, the only one who hasn't is Quinn Hughes. If anything, he's been better. He quietly has almost 100-point pace there as a defenseman. They got to be the Norris favorite with Makar right now. So I think without him, they almost be a lottery team of how bad they've been playing this year. So, suddenly it's in a year, a lot's changed there. Or some of the future doesn't look so bright at the moment. I mean, it's kind of a tough situation. Just a lot of drama.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, we actually titled the NHL Hour of Monday show like trade market backed up or whatever. It is like, this is the Canucks are holding everything else up, because the teams that are
fall when that happens.
yeah, the teams that miss out on JT Miller are going to go after Brock Nelson, or JG Pajot or, Taylor Hall or Ryan Donato. Like, I know it's not the same kind of deal, but you're going to end up paying less for that than you would for JT Miller, right? So I don't know. It's just an interesting kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, like, if something happens with that soon, because I'm hearing so much talks about it, right? So Friday's show will be pretty crazy if that happens.
Yeah. All right. What else you got?
I mean, I don't really have much else in terms of, I think we've teed up the games tonight. Tomorrow kind of brought up, and Hawks will have more time to tee up the game Friday on the Friday show, for sure. But yeah, no, definitely a lot that feels like we're waiting on right now, right? A lot of speculation, a lot of rumors. We'll see when those dominoes fall, because I think when one move happens, there'll be more to follow. It's always an interesting time of year for that stuff. So yeah, it should be a lot to look forward to here for sure.
Yeah. Tomorrow Bruins Senators too is going to be a really good one. That game on, not to steal your thunder here, that was absolute cinema. That game on Saturday afternoon, the Bruins Senators.
Those two, the records are pretty even there. They're kind of in the thick of it there with each other.
Oh yeah,
that last spot.
That's an important game, especially the Senators laid an egg yesterday against the Rangers. Like they lost 5-0 and it could have been 10-0, honestly. But the Senators really need a bounce back. Brady Tkachuk is pointless in 8 straight games.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Lee's boy, I'm sure he's upset about that.
Yeah. A lot of rematches. The Blues and Vegas Golden Knights played a really entertaining game on Monday, so that'll be a good one. You mentioned the Canucks Oilers, like that's the suspension game. That's the Myers McDavid suspension game, right? So it'll be a shame that none of them. I bet if you're looking for a fight prop, that's probably the one that you could see a fight happening in at some point.
Yeah, that'll be a chippy game for sure. A lot of rematches there, right? A lot of matchups of teams that play each other recently. So those are always fun to watch, right? Things that carry over tend to the next game tend to be interesting. Yeah.
Flyers Rangers too. Like those two teams used to go at it. And, I mean, I think that, the Flyers being so bad the last handful of years is really like, taking the sparkle away from that sort of heated rivalry. But it'd be cool if the Flyers just like come and try and like punch the Rangers in the mouth tomorrow, metaphorically or literally.
The Flyers are quietly kind of hanging around like they were last year once again, right? Just above 500, they're in the mix, right? Definitely a bit better than people give credit for, right? They had a better season than expected. Obviously the Rangers, we talked about them. It's been a little better for them lately, but definitely probably most disappointing team. One of the most in the NHL for sure.
Yeah, it's getting Sammy Urson back in net was a big boon for them. That was a big.
Yeah, that's been their big issue, right? Is goaltending, so that's definitely helped them out.
All right. Yeah, I am looking on. Yeah, I'm just looking around, seeing if there's any big headlines we missed or anything like that. Oh, this is an interesting story. I'll probably break this down more. Non-NHL related.
Bears.
So no, not Bears related, although I will let you take a minute to talk about Ben Johnson. This is USHL related. I just want to get this out. If you're looking for more of this, I do a show every morning called Good Morning Hockey, where I talk about, the NHL, like the games before the games tonight, or the night of, I'll talk PWHL, I'll talk, junior hockey, European Champions League. The Champions League final is set, in case any of you guys are wondering. And yeah. So I get into a lot of the stories about hockey in there. So if you're looking for more of myself, you can head over there too. It helps us out a lot if you're interested. But this is an interesting story. So I'm going to just read through this. After being denied permission to join the OHL in December, it appears 2 USHL teams aren't going down without a fight. Famed sports litigator Jeffrey Kessler of Winston and Strawn confirmed to Sportico's Michael McCann and Scott Soshnick that he has been retained by the Youngstown Phantoms and another team in the USHL. Elliot Friedman reported in December that the OHL's aggressive expansion plan hit a hurdle after USA Hockey denied permission for the Phantoms and the Muskegon Lumberjacks to join the league. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting that these teams are retaining lawyers. Kessler, the lawyer that they hired, Kessler, was the one who filed an antitrust lawsuit on behalf of 23XI Racing against NASCAR. And so far, it seems to be that he is winning that battle. But yeah, that's just an interesting story that, and a quick plug for my show. If you're looking for more coverage on that, I'll try and get a guest that, knows a bit more about that than you or I, but just interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting fun fact about that. 2311 Racing is co-owned by Michael Jordan over there in NASCAR land, so that's kind of funny.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you are a resident racing guy too. Although Ravens,
that's right. I would know.
Kill me.
Oh yeah, Ravens is into as I am, but yeah, transitioning to the Bears, obviously, Ben Johnson was confirmed as their next coach, which I'm sure we're all pretty happy about. I think he was kind of the main guy that Bears fans wanted. Lee could attest to that. So yeah, they got their coach situation figured out now. The Hawks are next from that front, right? Who's going to be the guy for us? Ben Johnson, pretty young coach. Do the Hawks go down that route with somebody like David Carl, maybe potentially in the offseason? We'll see. Or do they go with experience? It's something we've talked about in the show. It will be something for the offseason. Probably Kyle's biggest thing to figure out there in addition to the draft and free agency is the next coach. So we'll have plenty more time to talk about in the future. But from the Bears side of it, good to see that confirmed. Makes next season look a lot more interesting, hopefully. We'll go into every season with renewed hope and then get disappointed every year like we always do. But no, future for the Bears, right? Tough season, but I think it's pretty bright. Same deal with the Hawks. Tough season, but I think the future is still bright. I think both teams have a lot of similarities in that aspect. So for sure. Only up from here for both.
All right. That'll do it. Remember, we got another subscriber, so we're only 2 away from 400, but please, 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 please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're 2 away from 400. Doesn't it bother you guys like it bothers us seeing it just so close to a
yeah,
nice
it's so
round number?
frustrating. So close yet so far, right? It's like it's dangling there. The carrot is dangling. We're reaching for it. It's like, help us out there, bros. Share it around. We appreciate it.
Help us out. 398 subscribers. Keep subscribing. Keep telling your friends about this podcast. Tell them to follow. Share our reels with Blackhawks fans. Put our reels on your story. Hey, we see people do tag us in their stories. And we are really appreciative of the people. We've gotten people that say their Spotify will tell them. I know we're past the Spotify rap stuff, but it'll say oh, your top 2 podcasts at Chicago Hockey Radio, or your top 3 or whatever. So that means a lot to us. It really does, that you guys are consuming us at that high of a rate. And it means a lot that you guys even care enough to share it on your personal stuff. And, but that does help us out a lot. If you really resonate with some of our takes on some of our clips, share it around, try and help us grow. Cause we're doing everything we can to try and bring you guys the best content possible and try and bring it to you as often as we can. We've stuck to this Monday, Wednesday, Friday show thing. We're on deck in case anything crazy happens, like we were for the Luke Richardson emergency pod. We're available. We haven't missed a post game yet. We're not going to miss one the rest of the year. Knock on wood, but we have not taken a post game off. So
no, we're grinding here.
Yeah, it's been super impressive. So really appreciate everybody who continues to support and likes our content. If you're new, what we always say to people is give us 3 listens. And after the 4th one, we promise you will be a fan. We promise. But yeah. So just keep doing all that stuff. It means a lot. Follow us on Instagram, leaving a 5-star rating and review. And we will be back Friday to tee up the game day, the Hawks game day, Friday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then they'll also play Sunday. All right, Justin. See you Friday, brother.
All right. See you.